let's walk through the stages of Metahab, because I'm sure as I'm listening to you, I'm going, oh, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm going to get engaged. I don't like the way I feel right now.
Right.
I don't like my outlook. I don't like my behavior. I don't like my action in terms of what I'm doing to help myself heal. What do I do? And where does it start?
So, and as you have people listening to this, I want the people who, not only the people who have gone through the event themselves, but those supportive people around them. So family members, clinicians, and everything. You go through stages as well. You can go through these stages as well. So to begin with, I call stage 1 acute recovery. That's when I don't want you looking too far in advance. You got to look at the here and now. How are you going to get through one day to the next day to the next day?
Living in the moment.
Totally. What are you doing to survive and move through? Then you can get to stage 2. And stage 2 I call turning point. And I would ask your listeners to think about this for themselves. But clearly, I would say in the hundreds of stories I've heard, it is very clear that there is a moment in time, there is a point in time when somebody says, I don't like what happened. I don't want to go back. I am going to choose to move forward. I don't even know how that's going to work out, but I am choosing to move forward. And when they make that choice, that is a critical choice where they are taking on and taking control of their situation, they move into stage 3.
And can I hang up on stage 2 for just a second? Maybe that's when you're in the throes of grief and desperation and uncertainty post-surgery, where you're going, is this ever going to end?
Yeah.
I mean, when do I get to do something that is what I want to do, as opposed to this hurts, it's uncomfortable, I don't know what I'm doing, my medical therapies aren't working, they're trying to do this and that, and I don't want to take this, and I don't want to take that. And all of a sudden you go, screw this, I can't live like this. Yeah. I am going to do something different. Okay.
I'm going to make, yes, and that is, so let me just say, people who do well take control and make good choices. This is the first part of taking control and making choices. Again, don't look too far in the future. Just look at what's happening in the here and now. Another thing that's super important to look at is, I bet those of you who have had a cardiac event and your families, this isn't the first challenge you've ever been faced with. Bet you've had other challenges before. So I always like to tell people, look at how you handled those in the past. Bring those strategies forward as well.
And if those strategies didn't work for you in the past, don't repeat them.
Oh, yeah. Only go with strategies that work. We don't want to fix anything. We just want to go with what works.
Yeah.
We don't want to, you've got enough energy going someplace. So then you get to stage 3, which is focus on treatments. And that's complementary or traditional treatments, whatever you are finding.
Cardiac rehab.
Those therapies, exercise physiologist, a coach, medications work well with your physicians,
care providers, yeah.
All that, be clear, I'm doing this and I want to do this and I'll do this, and, work with them, collaborate. And there's just so many things that you can do. Then stage 4, stage 3, that treatment time, super busy because people you love are helping you out with that. And that's a busy time. Stage 4 is like,
take a break.
It's
reflect.
Acceptance, adaptation, a time for reflection. You got to just sometimes sit down and go, wow, what did this all mean? Where am I at now? Where do I want to go? How am I going to make this work? You really need to take some time out, and people do that in a variety of ways. It can be going out for a walk every day for 30 minutes. You could go on a short vacation. You could go to your best coffee shop. There's lots of ways you can do it, but you got to just take some time and let this settle.
Recognizing your accomplishment, so to speak.
Wonderful.
I've done this. I've come this far from where I started. The thing that I keep thinking about as you're saying this, and I'm reflecting on both my situation and others that I've spoken with, is this is the point, I think, where somewhere along the line you realize maybe this didn't happen to me, but it really happened for me.
Oh, nice word. Nice, Jeff.
And I have to figure this out. It's I'm here, I'm improving. Let me figure it out and really dwell on it for a minute and breathe it all in.
Right. This is very, meaning making. What is the meaning of this? What do I know now that I didn't know before?
Right.
What am I seeing now? How are, those types of things? What do I need to do to even get better at this? And so there's a lot of, thinking. And once you kind of contemplated that, you get back into life. You do something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the kicker. There's a lot of times that people, I want my life back. I want my life back. Well, did I really want that kind of life back? I was I was missing a lot because I was too focused on getting stuff done and being this and being the woman who did the try. And
your mom and the athlete.
All that. And when I kind of
employee.
slowed down, what I realized that there's a lot of people around me, including my children, who knew how to do things pretty well. I did not need to micromanage everybody. That was taken away from me because I was too exhausted. And I remember thinking, wow, people can do pretty good stuff on their own. I don't need to do that. And it was much more relaxing and a better way to have a relationship with that. Also, I have talked to so many people who wanted to go back to their job or whatever, and for whatever reason, that door closed. But a very interesting, very more fulfilling other door opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not overnight, this is over time. But in some way, you get back into being a productive, purposeful person.
Mm-hmm.
Then stage 6 is what I call taking on the future. That's Metahab. That's when you've really incorporated this process into you, and you actually use it all the time. You go through the stages in your mind. You go through them fast or slow or whatever. But that's when you really put it together and go, this is my world now, and it's not bad. It's pretty cool. I see a lot now that I didn't see before. It's tough because especially when you're going through some cardiac stuff, you want the life I want precisely the way it was. Even if that's not there, you have made a new life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, in that new life, you have identified and really seen, you've got to the essence of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful place to be because you really, everything you can do is an appreciation and a gratitude. And it's like a pretty cool place to be.
When I think also, depending on where this occurrence happens in your life, at what age, what stage of life you're in, changes the way that it affects you. For me, it was at 65 years old. So I had lived and raised my kids and sent them off to school and seen one of 4 get married. And it was an accomplishment that was very different than when I look forward post-surgery. Certainly I want to be around to see them all get married and have their children, our grandchildren. But it's very different in the perspective. If you're 30-something, we've had guests on the program who are in their 30s.
Yeah.
And it's changed their life. And in some ways, I think, what a beautiful perspective to have so young, to know at that age that a lot of the stuff that I thought was important wasn't.
Yeah.
It just took me a little longer to figure it all out. They can experience that at a much earlier age, whether it be job or wealth or whatever you're trying to create. And the ability to see it as a process and understand it. And I think that's what's so significant for those of us who have either been stuck in a place, or as I talk with people, knowing where they are in their sense of fear of the uncertainty and the unknown, still carrying the trauma of what happened. Just so many things that they have yet to go through, that if they don't have a process or a structure or some discipline to it, it's uncertain.
Right.
And there is no time frame and no expectation because they don't know what the next step is. But how beautiful to be able to look at a program like Metahab and say, oh, I'm there. Now I'm in stage 2. I get it. I know what that's like. Now 3, 4, 5, and all the way to 6 with reintegration, which is the ability to now get back into the life that you are making as a result of whatever your situation is.
Right. And that I really look at stage 6 too. Like I said, I'll just go to my daughter makes really good chocolate chip cookies. Okay, and she went through process to figure out what are the best ways to make that. And she goes through stages with that. Well, now she's landed on, and it's the best. And so that is integrated into her. When she makes chocolate chip cookies, she always goes through this precise process with these precise ingredients and all that. That's Metahab, where you have developed a mindset and a process that when you are dealing with an irritation, a challenge, or whatever, you go, oh, I go back and I work the problem. I apply it and I work the problem. You know, it's funny when you said being younger, I remember some of my friends, as I was going, even months afterwards, said to me, I noticed that you were a lot calmer after all of this. I've seen you're not so intense. I noticed that about you. And it certainly, when I think about being less intense, it certainly didn't mean that I didn't achieve things after. But I totally remember just like calming down. And I don't know if your listeners have children or grandchildren or whatever, but
all of the above.
Yeah, even you have in grade 4, it's California history, and they had to make this mission. And I remember I was coming out of my event, and one of my children were in and you know what? They made a mission all on their own, and it looked great. And I didn't need to and they did it. And so it's a process too, I think, of little bits of letting go of some of the ego that stops us from life appreciation. And the more I let go, the more I got. So stage 1, again, is the acute recovery. Stage 2 is your turning point, saying yes to life. Stage 3 is focus on treatments, both complementary and traditional. Use them all. Stage 4 is adaptation and acceptance for now. Taking a break. Stage 5, reentry, get back into life. And stage 6 is taking on your future, or Metahab.